Men, have you ever been groped anywhere on your body by a woman you know, or a stranger, where there was no prior flirting, conversation about it, sexual relationship? What were the circumstances? I knew a gal that was married to a friend. She thought it was funny to grab guys and bring them to their knees. She probably had a control fetish. The one and only time it happened to me, she got royally bitched out by me. I never call a woman this word except for her. She's a cunt. I was a waiter at a chain restaurant when I was 20 and a completely inebriated woman reached her hand under my server apron and grabbed my crotch. It was the most awkward 10 seconds of but my coworkers all got a laugh from it. A couple years ago, at a Halloween party, a woman dressed up as Catwoman cupped my balls and kept her hand there long enough to know I got hard. I was just talking with her when she did this. I didn't know her well, except we had many mutual friends in town and she knew my wife. I was at a holiday party wearing a shirt with the top 2 buttons undone. The wife of an executive at the firm came up to me and put her hand down my shirt multiple times. One time the buttons came undone and she even tried going for below the belt. I felt super violated, but my girlfriend at the time didn't see anything wrong with the way this woman behaved, which to me was insane. Had a guy done that to a woman, he would still be in prison. I was walking home after a night out, got slapped on my butt by a random girl. She said I had a cute, but I didn't mind and think about my cute butt. I used to run cross country in middle school at a super conservative private Christian school. The moms would hug all the guys and I remember a couple of them doing the whole shirt off our chests thing. I'm talking a bunch of 40 to 50 out of shape moms just going to town. If roles were reversed, they'd have been in jail. Not groped, but I had a girl come up and kiss me randomly at a Walmart one day. Nothing crazy. Was just 3 friends shopping together and 2 dared the other one. But the girl who went through with it got a nice blouse out to the deal. Or so they told me. I'm a woman, but like isn't this sexual assault? Yes it is, absolutely. This is why I was curious kind of. In this era you start to look at situations different. When it's a woman doing it to a guy it's not really talked about because a lot of guys look at it as a compliment or a badge of honor. But you're right. It is assault. I'm overweight and I have had females I know or I have just met when drunk grab my man boobs. I'm just like, I can't do that to you without it being sexual assault, so why the duck do you think it is okay to do it to me? That usually gets an apology and we all move on. A guy I know once had some girl come up to him in a club and grab his dick. They are now married, so it can be a positive experience. Was in Target one day when some random woman came up behind me and started feeling my calves. Was so caught off guard, I struggled to say something. Before I could, she said your calves look really muscular, and I was curious what they felt like before walking away. I was definitely a combination of weirded out and rather confused about what just took place. That's so weird. Once when I was in gym class as like a senior, we were doing a workout when the gym teacher, a male, grabbed my triceps to feel as everyone watched. So, I kinda relate to this. I used to be quite chubby in my teens, but I lost most of my weight by the time I was 19. However, my huge ass remained. It was excessively huge compared to the rest of me. I was carrying serious badunkadunk. It was a regular occurrence that on a night out random women, normally much older than me, would grab/pinch my bum. I ducking hated it. On a few occasions I would have a go at the woman and they always immediately accused me of being gay. It happened so often that whenever I would complain, if they called me gay I would say, I would be completely fine with it if you weren't the ugliest cunt I've ever seen. If you were even semi-attractive it would be alright. But on a scale of 1 to 10 you are a -20. So keep your ugly hands to yourself. One woman cried at that once, and it was ducking glorious. I definitely have. I used to be one of those guys that stood around with a free hug sigh. It was rare. But sometimes women would grab my ass. Or my crotch. But because I did it for years it was bound to happen eventually. More men did it to me for sure, but a surprising number of women did as well. A friend told me he was at a bar when we was 18 to 20 years old with some friends. He was always the group clown. And one night he was dancing and goofing around on a table. Suddenly, an old lady came up to his table, pulled his pants down, and bit his balls. Everyone laughed, and every time he told that story, everyone would laugh again. Until he said, yeah, laugh all you want. But if that would have happened to a girl, the guy would be in jail. And that got everyone quiet. I learned a good lesson the day he told me that story. This is exactly why I pose the question. A woman friend of mine told me a story of how a guy she knew would always be groping her. Not her privates, but just sliding his hand around her body. But they never flirt, and he just acts like that's normal. But it's more than a hand on the shoulder or anything that in the olden days was considered common. It reminded me of my story, and I was wondering if this happens to guys much. Biting my balls though. Wow. That's gotta be the craziest one I've heard. Yeah. It's honestly disgusting what happened to him. It really changed my understanding of how these sort of things are not okay and happen to lots of guys too. No one should have to deal with someone touching them when they don't want it. The world sucks. I was 12. A girl who was graduating high school that year kept grabbing on my thigh and licking her finger and rubbing it on me. She would also get really close to me and say really shitty gross things she and her friends wanted to do with me. I told my parents and they just said, oh, she probably likes you and that it's a good thing. Which pisses me off because she's an adult and I'm a child and I have no interest at all in her. But hey, that's life as a guy. I guess I've hated riding on buses ever since. I was at a bar with work colleagues and just having a few drinks and chatting. It was pleasant enough, but as we were readying to leave to go to the next bar, I was leaning on a table, tall, chest height, and one of the women just grabbed my ass and ran off grinning. Another time, a woman came up and asked if I had chest hair. I said yes, and she asked to see. Being young and drunk, I unbuttoned the top few buttons of my shirt and she just stuck her hand down, running it over my chest. It has happened more than those. But it's just a thing that women think they can do. They feel like they can touch you without your consent and think nothing of it. I used to work with a girl that would regularly grab my ass. We didn't really flirt. Never had a relationship outside of co-workers. It startled me the first time, but overall it didn't bother me all that much. Yes. I was a 24-year-old waiter at a very prominent country club in Michigan, waiting on a table of old ladies, 80s, one of which was married to the richest member at the club. I greeted her and her ladies with my charming waiter standard shit. As I turned to walk away to get their drinks, she pinched my ass and said, oh good, we got one of the handsome ones, to her friends. I didn't protest, so they all took that as my consent to grab my ass every time I was placing their drinks or food in front of them or whatnot. It was uncomfortable, but she left me a $200 tip, so I always requested their table when they came in. One time I was at a party. This super cute blonde started making out with me out of nowhere, and her friend next to us was making out with a guy. Then she pulled back and yelled switch and they swapped places. I think I ended up getting too drunk to make anything happen because I was a dumbass back then. Oh man, I actually have a story for this. It's a bit weird compared to some of the stories here though, and although I took it in a joking manner, in no way am I trying to down talk male molestation. So some setting. I was a senior in college, late 2016. Me and a bunch of my friends decided to try out a few of the bars / clubs in town we hadn't been to. This night we went to one of the 2 clubs in town. I had a girlfriend who went to a different school than us, and most of the friend group was either with SO or in the same situation I was. Either way, we are all a few drinks in and dancing on the packed floor, music blaring, lights low. Yeah, I know all the great club stuff. Then this girl walks up and says something. Now on a normal day my hearing sucks, but while in the club she might as well have been a mosquito in a hurricane. But I saw her mouth move and she was staring at me, so I leaned in and said, what? She leaned closer and said, at normal speaking volume, but literally right into my ear, what's your name? Demo 01134, I replied. Again. She whispers something. What? How old are you? She again says right into my ear. Oh shit. I think it's a bouncer. That either was just some chick. She must think him too young. 21 I tell her. Which wasn't a lie. I had my ID. If things went south. She nods. And goes quiet for a bit. I start awkwardly club dancing again. She just stands there. Again. She says something. Again. What? With a lean in. I licked you. Like this. She then proceeds to lick from below my earlobe. Up and around the back of my ear. Now, I'm a sweaty guy. Double so when I'm at all working out. Or if it's a hot location. So I'm fairly nasty right now. Her final response is I'm just standing there shocked. You're salty. Somehow that snapped me out of my daze. I stood up. Walked over to my friends. And told them about the really weird girl that just licked half my face. Never saw her again. That night or in the future. Honestly I didn't get a great look at her face due to shit lighting. So I probably wouldn't even know if she walked right by me on the street today. I don't want to press charges or anything. It really was just a funny and odd moment for me. But I would love to know what was going through her head that night. When I was dressed as a cheerleader for Halloween. And I was in a bar I had some lady come over and lift my skirt and try grab my ass. I also have had my ass pinched multiple times whilst bending over stacking shelves when I used to work in a supermarket. I was working as a host for a restaurant. We had a wedding booked. The mother of the bride came in before everything kicked off and grabbed more of my ass than I realized I had and winked at me. I told my manager, but she did nothing. The mother came back 2 more times, each time grabbing my ass and the last time taking hold of my hand and trying to drag me to dance. I went back and threatened to quit if nothing was done about it. Didn't see her after that, but apparently she had given up on me and gone around hitting on all the men at the wedding. Afterwards, as I was finishing up helping wipe down the bar, the bride came down in tears to apologize for her mother's behavior, which I felt real bad that it had created a blemish on one of the most important days of her life. Not sure if this counts, but I used to be a cooling technician in retail, fixing the refrigerators and freezers in a supermarket. One time I was doing maintenance in this supermarket about 2 streets away from a red light district, yet they're legal where I'm from. And around noon a group of 4 working girls came in to buy themselves some lunch and drinks. When they passed the aisle, I was working and I was lying on the floor with the top part of my body shoved underneath this refrigerator to do repairs. And one of the girls decided to sit down on my crotch and hump me while asking if I'd like her to show me a good time after work. My co-workers kept joking about it for about 2 months. Safe to say, that was my most awkward boner ever. TL. Doctor, got surprised humped by a prostitute in a supermarket while working. Yes. In high school I somehow started hanging out at lunch with these couple of girls who were friends of a friend. One day early on, one of them started randomly groping me. I didn't mind, because she was cute, but she definitely didn't ask, and just started grabbing my dick. Then, a couple years later, her friend randomly gave me a blowjob on eye without asking. Just unzip and boom. Again. I didn't mind, though this girl wasn't cute at all. But damn if the BJ wasn't one of the best I've ever had to this day. During prom I had a girl sit on my lap. I was at the time gay, now bi, and she was apparently dead to do it. She was very vigorous in her wiggles, and I ended up getting an erection. She then started telling everyone I was lying, so I could get girls to let me watch them change. One of the worst nights in my life. Oh boy, I have 2. Both from the same restaurant. When I first worked there, the restaurant was basically a dive bar that served food. There was also a concert venue connected that people could drift back and forth from. The first incident happened when we had set up a traveling male strip club in the venue. Thankfully I was serving on the patio and didn't need to go into the venue itself. But I still had lots of horny, lonely older women at my tables. For the most part, they weren't so bad until it was time to close up. I was standing at one end of the bar rolling silverware in the time, on a tradition of going home as quickly as possible to escape interacting with people, when this older woman walks behind me. She looked like she was 60, but the cigarettes and drinking this woman probably consumed over her life meant she was likely 15 years younger. As she passed behind me, she said in a raspy voice, "There's nothing exciting going on in there, sonny. You could do better," and her long, talon-like fingernails brushed my back. I laughed along for a bit nervously as a shiver went down my spine. Thankfully she was leaving. So yes, I have been told I would make a good male stripper before. The second incident was the first time I ever saw a wedding at this place in the venue. I don't know why anyone would go there for their wedding. The place was a seedy biker bar with a trashed concert venue that one night has someone shit in the mosh pit during a punk concert. True story. But anyways, I don't have to deal with the wedding since I'm serving the patio again. The venue has a door to get to the main bar and dining room, where then you can walk down this hallway out to the patio. It's a slow day on the patio. I have 0 tables, and there's only 2 guys at the outdoor bar in the middle of it all. Because of that, I'm sitting on this couch in the hallway watching my section to make sure I don't get any new tables when this bridesmaid stumbles into the hallway. She is larger, blonde, and absolutely sloshed. Without saying a word she sits down on my lap, makes out with the side of my head, hair and all, for a minute, then gets up and slurs. "What? Too much for yap?" And as I'm still trying to process what just happened, I can only manage her up. Yeah. I go inside for a minute to process what had just happened when I needed to check my section. So I walk out to the patio and this woman is loudly recounting the tale of how she would meet to the 2 guys at the bar and the bartender. My section is still empty, so I go back inside to hide from people. Later on I talked with a bartender who was outside over it all, and they said she was the single most obnoxious drunk that they had ever met. As a bartender at a seedy dive bar. TL. Doctor, I would make a good male stripper if I were to give up on this whole career thing. And yes, she was too much for me. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.